Alright guys, what's up? It's Lucas Hawkins. In this video we're going to talk about important things that novice lifters should know. These are all things that I learned from 1 year of serious strength training. These are in no particular order. Let's get right into it. Number one is have a plan. If you don't have a plan, you don't know what you're doing, you'll end up going into the gym or the weight room and just spinning your wheels. You don't want to max out all the time, and you don't want to do the same thing over and over again. You want to know what you're doing ahead of time. I used to have the problem of maxing out all the time. This was an issue because it only worked for a certain amount of time. I mean, I added like 50, 60 pounds to most of my compound lifts, but you just end up hitting a wall in the long run, and you just keep trying to max out over and over and over again and not make any progress. This is about when I realized that you need to add volume and actually do sets and reps to make progress. So some of the best progression schemes I like are 5x5, 3x3, adding 2.5 to 5 pounds a week. This is what I've been using for the past 6 months. And this actually not 6 months, probably about 3 months, but actually it made a huge difference from just maxing out to actually having my progression laid out and planned ahead of time. Alright, number 10 is stick to the plan, don't hop around. You want to make a plan that you know works and you can stick to. And if you're not good at that, you should look at other people's programs. I'd recommend starting strength to start with, or strong lifts, or any other novice program. You want to use a program that you can stick to and adhere to that actually makes sense, and you don't want to switch programs often. You want to run a program fully so that you can milk as much progress out of it as possible. And if you are switching constantly and getting used to new programs, that's time you're wasting not making progress. I used to have this problem where I made my own plans. I've never followed anybody else's plans. I've done small love once, but that's not even a full program. That's only a 3-week cycle. But I have learned now that I have to make plans that I can stick to and modify them as I go. So maybe there's too many sets per a certain exercise. I'll just take a couple sets off of it and keep going. You can make slight modifications to your program, just don't change it around a ton very often. Alright, number 3, I experienced this one firsthand this month actually. You don't want to jump in weight too quickly. Say you're doing 3x3 like I was with 275. So for every week you want to add 2.5 to 5 pounds. I was doing 5-pound jumps, and I was at 275, the next week 280, the next week 285. And I got 285 for 3 sets of 3 that day. And then I missed the training session that I was supposed to add 5 pounds on. And I missed another training session for that squat workout. So I ended up missing about 10 pounds worth of progress. So what do? Next time I'm able to actually do that workout, I went from 285 to 295. And I still got 3 sets of 3, but I had a lot of forward lean and I was having problems. I was having form breakdown. And what I do after that? Well, I kept adding weight. I got up to 315 for 3x3 with ugly form and a high risk of injury. Now I realize that I should drop the weight back down to 290 and start over. This is wasted time. I could have went up from 290 and had beautiful form the full way through. This is basically just spinning your wheels. You don't want to jump in weight too quickly. You want to make logical progression, and you don't want things like this to happen. Number 4 is make sure your form is in check. Focus on your cues. So for me, like when I was deadlifting, I wouldn't focus on keeping my lats tight. The squat, I wouldn't pull the bar down. In the bench, I wasn't pushing myself into the bench. I was pushing straight up with my legs. Things like that you want to actually pay a lot of attention to. There's lots of things you can forget about over the long run, and that causes all kinds of problems. Number 5 is don't focus on a ton of equipment. All you really need is a good lifting shoe. I mean, you can use belts and things like that, or wrist straps on a bench if you have wrist problems, but other than that, stay away from the gear, especially as a novice, both types of gear and equipment. You want to build your base without gear. Number 6 is throw away the variations, stick to the basic compound movements. I learned this the hard way from spinning my wheels for a year, doing leg extensions and curls and lateral raises all the time. Then when I started strength training and actually building my squat and deadlift, I started seeing changes in my body the way I wanted to. This is amazing because people don't realize this all over. People just mess this up all the time. They think that every muscle needs its own exercise, not realizing that compound movements can build many muscles at once. This is why you want to do the compound movements more than isolation movements. Number 7 is keep things constant, don't cut depth, don't do touch and go bench press, don't hitch on deadlifts, and don't add equipment to things. If you're going to progress on a pause squat, keep the squat paused. That's the premise of everything. You don't want to cheat yourself into heavier weight. Number 9 is make sure your nutrition and recovery is in check. When your nutrition and recovery is in check, everything else is in check. And that's it. If you ever have any issues in your novice progression, refer to this video, and it will fix most of your problems.